Hi, I'm Ann Kim, a senior editor at Washington Monthly, and I'm joined today by monthly politics editor Bill Scher. Hey, Bill.
See ya.
Great to see you. So, Bill, you have been watching for fissures in the MAGA coalition, and sometimes optimism leads to false hope, but it really does kind of look like the MAGA monolith might actually be crumbling. For instance, you recently wrote that the president's poll numbers are worse than they've ever been, which is a clear danger sign for Republicans. Marjorie Taylor Greene is quitting. What else do you see as potential signs of weakness?
Well, you're seeing it with healthcare. You saw Trump try to get Republicans on board with a plan that would extend the expiring enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies that Democrats had made a demand when they instigated the shutdown. They didn't climb down from the shutdown, but at least they promised for some sort of vote on their plan, which Democrats think is going to expose Republicans for rejecting the Democrats' plan, and premiums will shoot up and Republicans will get the blame. Trump is aware of this is a political problem and is not ideologically tethered to much of anything. So he's willing to say, okay, well, let's come up with a way to extend these things. We'll slip in some terrible conservative stuff along the way, but let's at least get us through this election. And that got a lot of blowback from various pockets of the Republican caucus. And according to Punchbowl News, that the White House is backing down. That's classic lame duck activity, and exposing a rift between the more vulnerable members in the Congressional Republican caucus who do see this as a threat to their own seats, and the more far right people who will survive the election and want to make the stand and try to destroy the Affordable Care Act. And you're starting to see some fissures around the spate of military strikes on boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific. Some Republicans are even using the word war crime, even though they're stopping short of saying that Pete Hegseth is guilty of one. Their armed services committees have joint letters from the Republican chair and the Democratic ranking member asking for more information about these strikes. So there's definitely unease there. And you see in the resignation of Marjorie Taylor Greene, not someone you would call a moderate, and isn't even making a moderate case. She's saying that Trump has lost his way in terms of being an America firster and is obsessing too much about foreign issues, as well as concern about healthcare as well. So that's moderate-ish on her part, but in the realm of what Trump has talked about, which is not being doctrinaire, laissez-faire libertarian conservatism, but giving out money to your people when it serves your political interests and not caring about what happens abroad. Trump seems to have turned it on its head, and that's getting folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene off the Trump train.
Yeah, yeah. I want to keep asking a little bit about Marjorie Taylor Greene because she was first and foremost his staunchest defender for the longest time. But do you think that her departure from the House signals the end of the Trump coalition, or does it signal the beginning of a different kind of MAGA, not powered by Trump? I mean, there's a lot of permutations about this, but what do you see as the longer term implications of the fracture that she is catalyzing?
I can't map out the next, five steps of this. It's way too scrambled. I think Trump has warp the DNA of the Republican Party. It's the notion of a Republican Party rooted in traditional conservatism, laissez-faire economics, and social conservatism. That's all garbled now.
Yeah.
And so much of it was contingent upon him as a cult of personality leader. His poll numbers are down. They're below 45% job approval. So in our divided country, you can kind of get away with being in the upper 40s and still be able to thread the needle on elections. But below 45 seems a lot tougher. We're already seeing Democrats romp in the elections in 2025, both those that were on the calendar and the special elections. Is a very consistent trend that tracks with a wave year in 2026. We saw this happen during Trump's first term. Uh, so Trump doesn't have the juice to signal to his rank and file, you got to be with me. You got to be Trump or die. I'm gonna bring you to the promised land. But it doesn't automatically mean a snapback to what Republicans were pre-Trump because he's brought in the Marjorie Taylor Greens, he's brought in the Tucker
Right.
Carlsons, he's brought in a sense of America First populism. And so where it goes from here, do they become, MAGA 2.0? Do they become super MAGA post Trump? Do you have folks who are more like a Glenn Youngkin or a Spencer Cox that do want to take it to more of a center right path?
Mhm.
I can't tell you where it's going to go from here. All I can tell you is that it seems that increasingly Republicans are less inclined to just salute whenever Trump demands it, and it's slow, it's gradual. There's still plenty of
Mhm.
saluting going on. It's not like it's all falling apart, you know, in a day. But every subsequent election, and the midterms could be a big plot point here. You're starting to see Republicans say, you know what, there is going to be a post-Trump party, and we got to figure out where I am as an individual in that party and where we are as ideologically as a party, and that's all very murky right now.
Yeah, yeah. Your piece on the poll numbers, I mean, the independents have already left Trump a long time ago. Like these so-called swing voters, to the extent they existed, have abandoned ship. But what regular voters might think of a scandal quite isn't the same as what MAGA voters tend to see as a betrayal. So what is it that you think that is having MAGA peel away? Is it kitchen table issues? Is it the Epstein files? Like, what are the MAGA-centric things that are going on that might be eroding the coalition at last?
Well, Epstein's a big one. I mean, the part of the glue that held MAGA together was conspiracy theorizing. This notion that there were all these deep, dark things happening in the deep state, and Trump was going to be the big truth teller that was going to expose them all. And he's trying to distract from his deep ties to Epstein with, well, here's the MLK files, and here's the Amelia Earhart files. And I'm going to be hardcore on deporting immigrants, which I know you care about. So he's trying to do various things, and being murderous with drug boat strikes is also something to show strength. That just tries to distract from the fact that on this big glaring conspiratorial type issue, Epstein, Trump doesn't want you to hold the same standard to him that he does to everybody else. So that definitely was a weakening in the threads that tie MAGA together, but also that Trump is spending a whole lot more time traveling the globe, patting himself on the back for ending wars. I mean, he's not as much as he's
Wars
been
that don't
Putin friendly,
exist, yeah.
right? As much as he's been Putin friendly in the Ukraine talks, he's not just pulling the plug. He could just pull the plug. He could just say, you know what, America first, Ukraine, you're on your own. I'm out of here. But you can't get a Nobel Peace Prize that way, which he seems to really care about. And that's not America first. That's Trump saying, gimme, gimme, gimme things. Trump is primarily motivated by himself and his narcissism, and that's not America first. To be doing military drug boat strikes is hardly an America first approach to drug interdiction. And there are plenty of Rand Pauls out there that don't even think that we should be having a military approach to drug interdiction at all. So that I think all these things weak. I mean, any time you actually get into power, making decisions weakens your coalition.
Yeah.
You make tough calls that are going to make it harder for disparate pockets of groups to stay on the same page. But Trump is unique in that he sold a sense of having a philosophy when his actual philosophy is narcissism. And once that becomes exposed, everything else is going to break apart.
You alluded to the special elections that we just had in Virginia and in New Jersey, which were pretty spectacular wins for Democrats. And there was also another special election this week in Tennessee. It was a loss for Dems, but it was a lot closer than the Republicans certainly wanted. Trump's PAC, for instance, spent a lot of money. But do you think Democrats run the risk of getting too cocky here as they also begin to see some of the same cracks that you've identified?
Oh, I wouldn't worry about cockiness for Democrats in the short run. I mean, if anything, what we're seeing is even though there are pretty significant differences of opinion in the Democratic Big Tent, the same day that Mondami won in New York City, you have Abigail Spanberger and Mickey Scher winning in New Jersey. Two center left figures with national security backgrounds, not just winning, but winning very, very strongly, and a Democratic socialist winning in New York City. I mean, that is the Democratic Big Tent. All of those parts are in the party, and they're not going to get to. They're not going to be able to put together a majority without all those folks in there. And even though there's still pretty significant differences of opinion, substantively, tactically, it's not getting in the way of winning elections. You're not
Mhm.
seeing these pockets drop off. You saw turnout um, turnout drops in blue areas in November 2024 that hurt Kamala Harris. You're not seeing that now. You're not seeing that again in the I mean, you have municipal elections, like the New York City mayor's race or the Seattle mayor's race where, you know, they're these are technically nonpartisan. Well, in Seattle's technically nonpartisan. In New
Mhm.
York, there was a Democrat versus former Democrats running as independents.
Right.
And so you had Democrats splitting in those races because they had different choices on the ballot to choose from. But you're not seeing in the typical two party elections, statewide, congressional, state legislative, you're not seeing any Democratic fissures become obstacles to coming together on election day to beat the common enemy in a Republican. So I think the logical extrapolation is 2026 is going to be fine for Democrats in that regard. Once again, to power, they got things to navigate, but electorally, they
Yeah.
seem to be willing to lock arms for the time being.
Well, thank you, Bill, for your thoughts. I'm Ann Kim, senior editor of Washington Monthly, and I was joined today by monthly politics editor Bill Scher. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.